Today marks the 1 year anniversary of my favorite manga, Akane-Banashi's release. And there have been a lot of weeks in this past year where really the only thing I have to look forward to is Akane, so I really want to talk about this series, why I love it so much, and why Akane is by far my favorite protagonist in any series that I've read. And I have a couple sections of how I'm going to do this, and then I am going to talk a little bit about negativity at the end, but I will save that for the end so you don't necessarily have to stay for it. Having come off my previous favorite New Jump series getting axed only a few months prior, I was really apprehensive about falling in love with the New Jump series. The structure of Akane really didn't help me with this because it was very clearly written so that it could end after the Karaku Cup, just about 20 something chapters into the series. However, the series' popularity in Japan really kept it alive. The bitching and moaning on Twitter by shonen fans who just hate reading and only want to see fights didn't affect its growth at all. The series has gotten at least 13 color pages that I can remember in its first 50 chapters, and I think there's actually been more, and that's a big sign of how well the series has been doing. On top of that, we've already had multiple interviews with the creators talking to real Rakugoka, and a limited access Rakugo event connected to the series that will be released publicly in the next month. Clear that the Rakugo community has adopted Akane, and Akane has brought a new slew of eyes to the Rakugo art, and I think that's really a big reason of why it's stayed alive and why it's doing so well. There were two things that really drew me into this series. The first one was Akane's personality, and the second one was the art during the performances. Having chapter 1 be from the perspective of her father during his expulsion from the Arakawa school, instead of just from Akane's in the audience, was a perfect way to set up how different Akane is from her father. Shinta is unsure of his abilities and stiff on stage, while Akane was fearless from the beginning. Her first instinct when getting in trouble in this first chapter is to use her Rakugo skills to explain why she got into the fight to the teacher and the kid's family, and that was before she had any formal training. That confidence is something that I've always envied, and it's a big part of why I love Akane so much. My favorite characters aren't the ones that I relate to, they're the ones that embody things that I look for in myself. Don't get me wrong, I love characters like Chika from Is Love the Answer, and I really have a special place in my heart for how much I identify with myself in her and other characters like her. But they'll never reach the heights of characters like Akane or Onamine from Komi for me, because those characters are who I wish I was, instead of just characters that I can already relate to. After I fell in love with Akane in those first two chapters, chapter three's performance really ascended the series for me, and the art has only gotten better across time. Akane's facial expressions in the snake panel gave the warm-up for my favorite panel. The cafe owner seeing her father in her and instantly realizing who Akane was, and it's all capped off by using the story that Akane is telling to portray Guri's being genuinely terrified at Akane's skill even as an amateur. But Akane isn't the only one we've seen perform, and the way they show the differences in all the Rakugoka styles is amazing. Kyoji taking himself so seriously that the audience can't help but laughing at him is great. Koguma's art of education is amazing. Karashi's new age comedy style is actually really funny, and it's interesting to see how the masters react to it. Hikaru's theatrical Rakugo is a really different interpretation to all the other ones we've seen, while also pulling a lot of similarities to Akane's original style. Master Hasho's relaxation style, having a grip on the audience, is fascinating, and Master Urara's Ukuban style is drastically different from anything else we've seen in the series. Finally, Rokuro's instrumental style is a really good way to show how pace in a story is used. I love all the comedic chibi panels of Akane being an idiot too, but it's the art during the performances that really stands out to me and I think to everyone else. The last thing I want to talk about for the positives is how organically Akane's development has been throughout the series, because every consequence she's had to face has been a direct consequence of her own actions. Akane joining and winning the Karaku Cup against amateurs despite having 6 years of training causes her peers and potential teachers to see her as a hothead. They think she only joined the competition because she knew she'd win and that would advance her career more quickly, when in reality she did it to get answers from the man who expelled her father. She uses her Rakugo skills to mock and get back at someone who treated her friends like shit, which causes all the masters to see her as disrespectful to the art and refuse to teach her. All of these mistakes lead her to Master Urara and learning fetching tea and adding it to her arsenal. All of those mistakes she makes are consequences of her own growth, but they've really added more growth to her and landed her exactly where she needs to be. And I'm going to finish off by talking about the negativity I've seen, specifically on Twitter, around all of the color pages that the series has been getting. because I can't count the exact number of times I've seen this exact tweet replied in the comments of those posts. It's always, if you don't know anything about Rakugo, there's nothing for you in this series. And that's an insanely narrow view of the series, in my opinion, and what it can really bring. Akane isn't just made for Rakugoka to have a series to relate to. It's a relatable story that can teach people about the art of Rakugo. Take a couple steps back and think about any other manga that has to do with art or performance art. Would you say that you have to be an artist or you'll get nothing out of Blue Period? Is Your Lie in April only for burnt out pianists? No, those series are about people doing the art and using those people to give more light into the intricacies of that art. This is exactly what Akane is doing too. It's just the art's less common outside of Japan, so people try not to relate to it as much and get angry about it. I had never heard of Rakugo before I started Akane, and now I have a genuine interest in the art. If you don't have that same experience or you don't like it, that's fine, but stop trying to conflate your experience with how everyone else will feel it and about it and experience it. If you want to complain online, that's your prerogative, go for it. But when it comes to your complaints, don't start your complaints with no bias, and then exclusively use your own perspective because you sound like a moron. Stop pretending that you're not biased when you're only using your own experiences. You can talk about it negatively if you want to, just stop trying to conflate your opinion with what is objectively the truth about the series. That's all I have to say for now. I really want to talk about this series more, and I might start doing weekly videos about it that'll be much shorter, and I might start posting those on TikTok. If you came from my shorter version of this video on TikTok, thank you for watching, and subscribe to me here because I plan on doing more of my long-form manga content on here in the future and keeping the short videos on TikTok. Thanks again, everyone, and happy 1 year to Akane.